All right, this is a doozy, brother. So let's right out of the gate. Let's try to define where the biggest holdup with stretching is. And I think, and you tell me if you see the same thing, is it's just like the workout. It's our people showing up to get their stretching done. And getting it done, I think, is the biggest hindrance in the whole equation. What do you think?
Yeah, getting it done and not understanding why. And I think when people finally get hurt, they understand why. Sometimes you need that kick in the ass to figure out that, hey, I need to stretch. A
Yeah.
lot of people look at it as a waste of time. I I even had a client, sorry, I tried to get her to stretch and she was like, oh, that's for your fat clients. I'm like, it's not for the fat clients, it's for everybody. So a lot of people don't understand the importance and they don't even understand the simple concept of so we static stretching versus dynamic stretching. So usually if you're dynamic stretching, you're going to do that as a warm up, get your blood flowing, get your blood circulating, get your muscles warm. So now we can lift heavy, we can do some high intensity movements. You do your static stretching at the end, right? That you're going to sit down, you're going to sit down in your work chair, sit down on the toilet, sit down with the kids, right? You're going to sit down in the car. Muscles are going to tighten up and they're going to cool down. And that's where a lot of people, that's where the injuries start pretty much.
Yeah. So I agree with everything you said. So here's the thing. Obviously, dynamic stretch to warm up, that's great. That's for sure something that can be done depending on what the goal of the person. But when the muscle, obviously, having some sort of regular stretch to make sure that you don't get tight is really probably the what when it comes down to what we're talking about here. And I am a perfect example. I'm challenged with finding a small chunk of the day to do the stretch. And it's son of a bitch. I if I don't have it stack it, which we're going to talk about right now, I freaking miss it all the time. And it's not like it's one of those things that just keeps getting put back. So there's something that seems to be more important. So here's what is it. This is a massive tip. It's what I do. It's what I have my clients do. And it's actually, it does. A lot of times people say stretching hurts. Yes. If you're doing it in a certain regard, it will. Not going to hurt. And you're going to get it done really quickly because this is why you're going to get yourself obviously warmed up and whatever you need to do to get your workout done. When your workout is done, let's just say you trained your chest, right? That muscle's fatigued, that muscle is warm, it's broken down. It will stretch so easily with no pain. So, all you're going to do to maintain your stretching, and you're going to, every time you train a muscle, it doesn't matter what it is, you're going to spend literally, I say two, because that's a very simple, small goal to 5 minutes, somewhere in there. The odds are you're going to get to 2 minutes. You go, shit, I'll do a little more. But you don't need to do more than five. And if you do it every day that you train and you don't miss because you haven't stacked it to the back of your workout, this is a highly effective methodology because you don't miss it. It's habit stacked with your training, and the pain is gone, and you get a whole lot of bang for the buck when the muscle's already warm and broken down. You can stretch it out real easy. So, what do you think about that one, Marty?
No, that's a good one, especially if it's not a habit of yours. I think that's great. Obviously, it would be better to stretch everything. If you're trying to build that habit or you're short on time, I would say do that. But now that I prioritize stretching, I've made it to the point where I'm making my workouts more efficient so I can cut out time to stretch. Right. So all the fluff, don't be scrolling on your phone. Don't be in there talking too much. I try to set out a gap of time so I can stretch. And now it's a habit. Now my body's feeling better. I'm not getting injured. I can move how I want to. I can do my athletic movements. What Johnny just gave you is a great start. Try to build on that, obviously, but that's a great start for beginners.
Yeah. And here's the thing, if you're thinking, man, I'm tight, I need to stretch, that little habit stack of 2 to 5 minutes is going to bring you far enough down the line where you're not going to have tightness that's uncomfortable. You're not going to have pain because the muscles are tightening up so much after a workout. Once you get to that and you've got that maintained and you want to take it to the next level, then you take the next step. You go deeper into it. But if you don't have this, if you don't have the here, people think, oh, I'm going to stretch. I'm going to start committing this time to stretching every day. And they haven't stretched. They sit on the floor. They're like, holy shit, this hurts. Nobody wants to do that again tomorrow. So start off in a way where it's painless, so to speak. It's easy. Establish the fact that, man, I'm really getting the benefits here. Then when you want to do more, you change the equation on stretching. So
Yeah.
go ahead, Marty.
I was going to say, I even recommend if you have to, Hire someone to help you stretch. Hire someone to help you understand what areas you're struggling with, what issues. You got tight IT bands, your hamstrings are weak. Have someone help you. A lot of people don't stretch their calves at all. Right,
Yep.
calves is a big
Yep.
area, right? That's right by our Achilles. A lot of you don't want to rupture an Achilles or something like that. So it's important to stretch, but it's important to also understand your body, what your body needs, and know what's going on. And
Yeah.
yeah, I was going to ask you a question, John. Oh,
Let
I
me
was
just
going to.
before I
Okay,
forget,
good,
I
good.
got
Yep.
I got something that I want to share. Now, my first tip was attached to training. This one is attached to everyday life. So I'm gonna give you an example. Every morning when I do this show, I'm stretching my hips because if you could see the way I'm sitting, you could see I'm sitting in a way where, like, when I first sit down in this position, oh, ooh, that's a little tight, that's a little tender. But I'm
Yep.
sitting here on and off because I get up to take a leak when we take breaks, and I get a little break from stretching. But 90 minutes a day, Monday through Friday, I get a hip stretch.
Oh
And
yeah.
because I basically am doing it at the same time, it's not, I guess you could call it a habit stack. It's not a habit stack. You're multitasking because in many cases, stretching can be something that's a little boring. Like, to me, stretching is boring as a mother. So I'm going to find any little nook and cranny in my life. Like every morning, boom, this is a hip stretch. Other times in my life, I might find some other, if there's another, maybe like on the weekend, I'm not doing this. So when I'm sitting at my desk, I'll basically do the same thing. So look for places in your life that you can actually stretch as you're multitasking. Perfect example. You're driving in traffic. Take your arm and put it behind the headrest on the other
I do
side.
that all the time. Yeah, I do that all the
100%.
time.
So
Yeah,
just all you got to do is be aware and intentional of stretching within your current activities, and this whole thing starts to take care of itself.
definitely. Good Time says I went to a stretch therapy guy. He is awesome. And yeah, man, don't hesitate. Go to stretch therapy. They'll probably do some massaging too. A lot of us have a lot of knots in our muscles. So that'll be important. So I'm going to throw this on the table, Johnny. Let's say I can feel my lower back is tight. That's a
Mhm.
sign you need to stretch. You can feel it in your chest. You can feel shoulders, even in quads. You got to give those attention, right? Yeah, rest
Mhm.
is important, right? But you got to stretch. So what are some other signs, Johnny, that people might not realize that it's a sign they need to start stretching and start warming up?
Yeah, goodness. First off, some sort of stiffness or pain. You went way too far down the river.
Yep.
That's like the first time you notice that, you realize you've got something that needs to be addressed. You shouldn't let that go. So
Yep.
I would say stiffness that creates pain. That's an alarm. Your body's
Yep.
saying, "Hey, dipshit, you've let this go too long." It's not just hard to put your shoes on anymore. Now it hurts to put your shoes on. And so
Yeah.
start look through your life and
Yep.
identify, as most people don't know because they're doing this shit and they're not thinking about it. If there are little parts of your life, the normal parts of your life, I'm gonna get real graphic. When I'm basically taking a dump, I'm gonna I'm gonna basically go for both sides. I'm gonna clean myself up from both sides because if I'm only doing on
Mhm.
one side, my thoracic twist is great when I'm leaning to the left, but I lean to the right, I'm stuck.
Yep.
So look for the little things in your life that you can do to keep yourself stretched and balanced per se. Because to a certain extent, when you're tight, you're creating a major imbalance, and your body does not like imbalances. Going back to when we were designed to survive. And if you're too stiff and you can't run, Marty and I were looking for food to bring back to the village, and we got to run from a saber-tooth tiger. If I got tight hamstrings, guess who that saber-tooth tiger's coming to get first?
Oh yeah.
He can see me running stiff. He's, oh, that son of a bitch didn't do a stretching. I'm gonna eat him.
No, definitely. And I'm gonna throw this on the table as well. Age. Just because you used to be able to just walk in the gym and bang out 225 with no warm up does
Oh,
not mean you
brother.
should do it 10 years later. That's a bad idea. So just as we age, our muscles get tighter, we accumulate more fat. So it's more important. Stretch and recovery become way more important. So you got to be on top of that. The older you get, the more you got to warm up and the more you got to do your post-workout recovery stretch, whatever it is. You got to be on top of that even more. And even nutrition I to an extent helps with your
Massive,
muscle tightness. And like hydration
massive.
is big. Hydration is big. Stay on top of that water intake.
So when you here's a just so if you guys don't know, this might help. So lactic acid, you train, let's say you train your legs and they're burning, the body's releasing lots of lactic acid. Think of lactic acid as like little pieces of broken glass that get lodged in the muscle. So then when you cool off and the next day you go to walk, you're like, oh my God, I can feel my legs. You're feeling those little pieces of broken glass dig around your
Yep.
muscle tissue. So when you get a little blood flow and do a little stretching, what you're doing is you're allowing those little pieces of broken glass to shake loose, get out in the bloodstream. Then the body has a mechanism that will dissolve those pieces of broken glass or that lactic acid in the bloodstream. I'm really boiling this down to make it simple, but the bottom line is if you're sore from a training session, you need to give that muscle some attention with a little blood flow and a little stretch, especially before you put it under load.
And here's another hack too. Since we talked about hacks the other day, we didn't talk about this hack, but foam roll. Get a
Mhm.
foam roller, roll everything out, roll out your calves. Even sometimes I even roll out my shins, roll out your hamstrings, quads, and two that people don't really roll out, the IT bands and those glute muscles as well. Those are a game changer. Those are going to make a difference in how you feel, and it's going to help you when it comes to feeling sore.
And
And
bro,
then good,
that's such a
go
good
ahead,
point right there. That is such a good point because here's
man.
the thing. Your posterior chain, what that means is the muscles that go from your back of the neck all the way to your heel. All these muscles are interlinked. And basically that butt muscle, that glute is so big and so strong. If that thing's tight, what it's doing is it's pulling on the lower back and it's because it's pulling on the hamstring. So if that glute is tight, that you guarantee you're going to have a tight lower back and a tight hamstring. So what Marty's saying about the foam roller, start off sitting on that thing because like rolling out on an IT band or a hamstring, that's painful shit.
It
Something
hurts.
weird about the glute, man. You sit on that roll and move around the glute, it actually feels good. And if you get that one going first, it's going to make the other ones easier and less painful.
Absolutely. Good Time says, what about a chiropractor? Now, listen, if we have any chiropractors watching, I love you all. I have nothing against you all. But I would say before you go to a chiropractor, try to address some of those things on your own. Go to a stretch therapist first. I think that a chiropractor, this is just my opinion. A chiropractor can come here and debunk me. I think a chiropractor is more of a temporary solution, and it's not going to be a long term. It's not going to be help the issue long term for you. That's just my opinion, and from what I've seen.
And we also had a comment about cupping too. I missed who it was, but cupping, what's your take on that, Marty?
I haven't done cupping before. What I do works for me, so I just stuck with that. I've done cryotherapy, so I can't really say much about cupping.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never had it done either. Some people will tend to they believe in it, but usually the what I from what I've seen is the people that really lean into massage are also leaning into cupping. I've never been a massage guy. That's something I've never really taken. Yes, it's part of recovery, but it's like there's a certain you've got these lists of responsibilities you got to do on a regular basis. And if you have too many of those responsibilities, it's going to break down the system. Massage was one of those things I decided to leave out of my equation because it felt like it was really making the process harder in terms of the time investment and what I felt like I was getting in return.